Rightio, guys. Welcome back to Choice Driven. This is going to be our first interview, which is pretty exciting, and I couldn't think of a better person to do it with than my good friend Paddy Bowen, mate. Welcome to today's episode about you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. Number one. How good?
Yeah, mate. You've always wanted to be number one. I heard Georgia Moore was it was a fierce fight between you two to see who got the number one jersey for Nomads, but that's good. So what I've got here, Paddy, is I've got a few notes about you before we start. Um, Now these are the good notes. We'll get to the other ones later, mate. That people have sent in. But what I've got is obviously, mate, you're dedicated to rugby, and you've helped a lot of young rugby players around Australia internationally. So I've got you as the founder of Pacific Nomads Rugby. Well done on that, mate. It's been great. Um, Before building one of the most exciting touring and developing organisations, Paddy enjoyed a successful rugby career that began at St Gregory's College in Campbelltown before progressing through Sydney Rugby and specialising coaching rugby sevens. Unfortunately, a serious head injury brought your playing career to an early end. Um, but, one door shuts, another one opens, I'm guessing. And rather than stepping away from the game, you found a new purpose, helping young athletes experience opportunities that many would never otherwise have. How's that sum you up, mate? Pretty good.
Yeah, mate. It's, almost accurate. Yeah.
Almost
Yeah,
accurate. Well,
yeah.
I'll let you dispel the myths as we go through, mate.
Too kind, mate. Too kind.
So,
Looking
so
forward to it.
righto, let's start at the beginning. Tell us a bit how you grew up, man. Like, tell us about you.
I was born in Tamworth, here in God's country, as they call it. But yeah, my mum was a teacher at Corindai High School. Um, but living in Tamworth, I don't know why she chose to do that drive every day, but yeah, things went a bit south there. With sort of my dad, and we moved back to Sydney pretty early. So I grew up in Sydney in the western suburbs in a place called Toongabbie, so sort of halfway between Parramatta and Blacktown, basically. So, so Toongabbie Seven Hills was quite a big sort of area. A lot of kids there. A lot of kids played sport, multiple sports, rugby league heartland, sort of right in nestled between Panthers and Eels, sort of fighting for that big junior base.
I think we
Um,
know who won that, mate.
yeah, yeah. Back in the day, Panthers probably weren't winning as much, but never dominated for sure. So yeah, so I grew up around Toongabbie area, and then yeah, went to my primary school in there, and then first school I actually went to St Pat's Blacktown. Uh, is probably a notorious rugby league school now, but they were sort of struggling maybe a little bit at the time. They were competitive, it's not in that. Now that had the Jerome Luais and the Crichtons and stuff go through there, they've become quite big in rugby and union and league as well.
No one
So,
forgets the bad times when stuff like that happens, mate.
yeah, so yeah, from there got into a bit of trouble there. To be fair, wasn't probably the best school for me in terms of fit. I think it's hard for kids that age, that year 7, 8 sort of age. You're trying to find your way in the world, and um, so there's a lot of racial driven tension at the school too. There was a lot of segregation between groups. Croatians and Serbians, for example. Um, Sort of the Islanders sort of stuck together, and the Filipinos stuck together, and they were quite large cohorts there. So it was always um, a tough gig, I think, for kids coming from um, Parramatta side as well. It was probably from the wrong side of the area. Most kids came from that Blacktown Penrith side.
Wrong side of the
So
tracks,
that
mate.
yeah, it was always a tough one. So I didn't really fit in that school too well. Was playing rugby league there. Was playing okay, but just sort of lost a bit of passion for the game around that stage too. So, and I think that's a big issue with kids at the moment. We're losing kids to the game, not because of the game, but because of other things. And at that time, there was no real conversations around that. It was kind of like, oh, and another one will just come through the production line at the school and take a spot. And then, yeah, onto eggs, and probably had to fix a lot of stuff in my own life, that was going on at home, like I wasn't going to school, getting arrested and getting picked up by the police and stuff like that. And so I went to St. Greg's and obviously just having that routine at boarding school and sort of really sort of sorted a lot of that stuff out. But yeah, probably rugby wasn't the priority, to be fair. Like, it was always in the background, but it wasn't probably getting academically on track and just routine and building, solid friendships and stuff like that was a priority, which was pretty beneficial for me. But it definitely saved my life, and not just me, all the boys that have come through St. Greg's in the Nomads program have said similar things. Like it's the school itself is
I
more
can
than just
vouch for that, mate.
education.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much me, mate. Yeah, and then after that, just went into when I lived in Sydney. Yeah.
So we'll go back to the St. Greg's bit for a minute. Obviously, like you said, we've had a few boys come through Nomads. That was St. Greg's. Of note, Stevie Moore and Briggs from up our way, and Liam Walsh.
Yeah, Jacoby Fernando, school captain there. Yeah.
Big shout out Jacoby Fernando. I'm hoping to get him on here to interview him, actually, mate. One of the best humans you ever meet in your life. So the kid that Paddy's talking about, Jacoby, a young Aboriginal boy from Moree, went to St. Greg's. He's the first, I believe, the first First Nations school captain of St. Greg's.
Yeah, could be for sure.
Yeah, and he's training. I asked him, "What are you doing for footy next year?" He said, "Uncle, it's mate, I'm going to be a doctor." He's looking at heading towards the 98, 99 ATAR, and good on him. It just shows the program that you built. But anyway, going back to St. Greg's, like we talked about, mate. Like, what was your experience there? Going from you went from that street life pretty much to a regimented life, which I can understand being previously in the army. So I understand what it did for me and my crazy ass head, right? So what did going from that freedom or do whatever you want to that rigid school life, like, can you go into that a bit more? Was there a shock factor? Did you rebel against it? How'd that go?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always, in any boarding school, there's a bit of a divide between sort of city boys and country boys, and then there's a divide between day boys and boarders. So you're sort of an outcast within an outcast to some extent. So the first sort of year, definitely there's a bit of a feeling out period. The country boys just think you're a dickhead city guy, and you think they're country bumpkin. So it takes a bit
if
of
if the shoe fits,
yeah. But then once you sort of broke the ice there, and on your weekends you head into the city and you show the boys a good time in the city, and then all of a sudden it's like, this isn't that bad, and you kind of build that bond, and even to this day, man, like I still catch people I went to boarding school, 23 years on now, and Greenie came over my house one Boxing Day 2 years ago. His in-laws live in Tamworth, and hadn't seen him for 20 years, and it's just like talking like we saw each other yesterday. So I think it's a really nice network we built in our 20-year reunion every year. Like, guys you haven't seen, you just pick up like it was yesterday. So I think that just shows the sort of relationships that you build there. But yeah, it was definitely a bit of a fit period for the first year or so. But the regimental stuff is I think what kids and humans, I think that's what we need, to keep our mind in order and our house in check. And it's like the same thing like the army, mate. Like, wake up every day, make your bed, like shave, like go have breakfast at the same time. Like, those little things are just make sure that you win the day. Still things that I do now. I make my bed every morning. Try and keep your room tidy, stuff like that, as best you can. And I think those life lessons translate into business. They translate into rugby. They translate into everything else. And I think you can see the kids that come into Nomads that might not have that discipline yet, and then no fault of their own. They've probably never seen it either. So it's nice to. I know it sounds oversimplified, but it's probably a nice start that we sort of try and get into the program.
It's interesting you say that. It's interesting you say that about the bed. I've talked to a few Marines or SEALs. Like, SEAls are the SAS of the American world, right? And what's the best thing? Like, the SAS boys wouldn't say it; they probably get their beds made for them. But mate, the SEALs, they say, you always say to them, say, what was the coolest thing that you ever learnt? And they said, make your bed. I'm like, what are you talking about? They said, you can have the shittiest day in the world, but you come back to a bed that's been made and is fresh, your whole day is perfect. You're going to bed perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even
It's interesting. Something small, isn't it?
and even like Stephen Moran, like he's much younger than me. He's 20, almost 20 years. You know, and he still like in the last level room together. He still made his bed every morning.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the same thing. You learn at St. Greg's. You know, like same thing. So
Remember in
it's good to
Alaska,
see.
he was sleeping on the floor and he made his bed.
Yeah, but just shows that those standards haven't slipped. You know, like two decades on.
Yeah, that's it. So rugby, you fell in love with rugby again at St. Greg's, or it's just something that you did?
No, it's definitely earlier. Yeah, my cousin was a fringe wallaby. He was 91, sort of late call up into the World Cup. He's a halfback that played for the Two Blues and Randwick, so you can't help bad taste. But he was pretty well known in the shoot shield. Pugs McDonald's his name, and I kind of don't really remember. I was pretty young at this stage, but yeah, you kind of you big chest on my cousins, you know. And, well, yeah, he actually wasn't a fully. Well, he's a rider. Unfortunately, he didn't get to cap, but just to even be on that World Cup tour, you know, '91 when they win is pretty special, and spent a lot of time watching the old ABC shoot shield, you know, like Gordon Bray commentating and things like that. So
The greatest commentator in history.
yeah, I think I met him in Hong Kong last year before, and said to him, I think he shaped so many rugby careers. You know, like even I just remember as a kid, just, you know, watching push over tries, referees getting on their one knee, and Gordon Bray's like, oh, you know, and just
Yeah, that's it.
the real animated refs like doing the signal stuff. Like that's the stuff you remember as kids, and growing up in Toongabbie, we played rugby league mainly, but we had a rugby club. It's up at Grantham Oval in Seven Hills. It'd be called Blacktown Scorpions now.
Oh yeah. I know you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, so at the time it was just a small, yeah, small club, a couple of passionate old Kiwis and Islanders, and big Polynesian based, they're massive, always has been, and they were really passionate about their rugby league and their rugby. So yeah, got to double in rugby junior, but played definitely rugby league was the main game.
Would you recommend that to kids these days? Just quickly on that, like the league and the union. Like me personally, I think that the league boys have their certain skills that can translate over and vice versa. Like, would you think that's good for the kids to do?
Oh, 100%. I think people who argue, it's such a redundant argument, you know, which one for a kid? Play both. Play which one makes you happy, and like if you're going to be such a rugby purist that you can't respect that the collision in league is 10 times more intense, hard opinion, and you can't tell me that's going to give a player an edge, a physicality edge or whatever. And if you can't tell me, if you're such a rugby league purist that you can't admit that, you know, having to defend for 30 phases in a row is easy, where it's just, or just defend 30 phases and then have to turn around and scrum, you know, if you tell me it's easy, like it's just such a stupid argument. I think kids should play the sport that makes them happy, but we should play multiple sports. We shouldn't specialize in it, you know, rugby league or rugby union or whatever. It's so early. Like it makes no sense. And research supports that. It supports the exact opposite of that. So it is a stupid argument, but it gets made time and time again since I was a kid, you know. So,
like I see it around this limiting minutes and that sort of stuff, like 90 minutes a day. Don't get me wrong, that has its place in the game. I can only imagine, like we used to go and play, you'd play a rugby league carnival on a Saturday and a rugby union carnival on a Sunday, you know, or you'd go and play 3 games of rugby because you're playing under 19s in Inverell. Then you got to sit on the bench for 2s, then maybe sit on the bench for 1s. Back then it didn't matter, but I wouldn't have that any other way either. But as a physio, you'd see a lot of injuries and stuff. Do you reckon that it's from? Now, I've got an argument. I don't think kids play enough football for their bones to mesh. But do you see a lot of injuries from kids that have played both sports as opposed to one? Or
well, probably what we see in the physio realm is that early specialization is killing athletic potential. It's definitely increasing risk of injury because let's take rugby for example. You know, we're seeing 16-year-old kids come in with meniscus issues. We're seeing 16-year-old girls do ACLs by times.
That's massive
10,
at the moment, right?
huge, right? We're seeing you go to any rugby carnival, rugby league or union, doesn't matter, AFL even. We look at 16-year-olds with knees heavily strapped. You know, we're looking at things like that, right? So I think what's happening now is that they're becoming better rugby players in terms of their ability to read the game or whatever, but their athleticism has dropped off. We actually need these people playing a little bit of hockey, go play basketball, learn how to jump, learn how to land, learn how to squat, learn how to use your upper body, do some gymnastics, do CrossFit, do jiu-jitsu, do some other sports other than rugby or rugby league, because this is what all the evidence supports. This is how we get better athletes. And if you talk to girls like Maddie Levi and stuff like that, she used to do dancing, they used to do gymnastics, they used to do AFL, and so this is why they got these amazing skill sets. She can dance in and around. She's big, she's fast, she's powerful.
She's probably the best athlete in Australia at the moment, I think.
Oh, in rugby, yeah, for sure. But she didn't learn that just in rugby, you know.
No, well, didn't they? They've only been playing rugby for a few years, haven't they?
Yeah, they were sort of late bloomers, as most rugby players are. Like it's but yeah, it's just the amount of injuries that we're seeing now in the junior space is just crazy. And look, we have under 10 rep teams, you know, like, and this is an uncomfortable conversation for a lot of people, and it's not a popular one by any means. But when you say who's the team for, like what is it for? And then they go, oh, yeah, we got to identify a player. And I was like, well, you tell me, who can identify a 10-year-old to become a professional rugby player? You cannot. Right?
I think impossible. If they make it, Paddy, look, honestly, I think if they make it okay for the parents to call it a social group so they can go drinking, it'll fix that problem. You know what I mean? Like it's a good opportunity for people to get together. I know what you're saying. We'll get into that a bit later, but I want to know a bit more about you early on first, because I know I've spoken to you enough. We can get on a tangent about that. Yeah, we will later, right? But let's like after school. So you left St. Greg's. Well, were you ducks at the school probably? Someone else did your homework for you. No, so you left St. Greg's on good terms. They didn't kick you out or anything. You finished your year 12 there.
Graduated, yep.
Where'd life take Paddy then?
A little bit all over the shop. Yeah, like sort of went traveling a little bit and then sort of
still
came
playing
back.
Footy?
Yeah, on and off. Yeah. You find social life, you find women, you find nightclubs and things like that. It definitely gets in the way for sure. But yep, still sort of dabbling.
Being as old as you are, mate, you mean blue light disco, don't you?
And then yeah, my mum sort of gave me an ultimatum at some stage. She's like, "Listen, you actually need to get a proper job or sort of go into the military or something." And I was like, considering both, to be honest. I was looking at doing a trade in the military, and then ended up doing a commercial cook, like chef's apprenticeship actually, out of school, and then at some really big restaurants in Sydney. So like some really sort of real big ones, which is a great. It's probably the time of my life. Like,
did you get yelled at much?
Oh, 100%. Like, got shit thrown at you. Like, I'm talking like Gordon Ramsay style kitchen. Yeah, like hot pans thrown at you, tongs. Like,
that's awesome.
Stuff slammed in your face. It would not fly now. Half the shit would happen in
so it's as advertised.
Oh yeah, for sure. In those style of restaurants, it was. Yeah, absolutely. High pressure. You know, we're talking fine dining. You know, these one of them.
This is in Sydney, right?
Yeah, it's in Sydney. Yeah. But then, obviously, as an apprentice, I think I was making $102 a week, 80 hours of work, and I was living in Rozelle, paying $120 a week rent. So, if you look back now, it's like, how cheap is that? But so I started doing security, doing finishing work and doing did a few security shifts. On my first ever security shift, witnessed a fatal stabbing and shooting on day one, and I thought this is going to be
That's a tough
going to
initiation, mate.
be a great career. That was
Yeah.
in Canley Vale, Cabramatta area, and then
Rightio.
but then yeah, sort of just migrated more towards the sort of into the lifestyle of security, and the money of security was a lot better than
It was a
cooking.
lifestyle, right? Like it was like a clique, wasn't it?
Oh, it's a whole community, yeah. It's very, very clicky, and yeah, depending on what part of Sydney you work in and what crew you work for, and crews hate crews, and yeah. But it was again, working in pubs and clubs, nightclubs. It was great for a young 20-year-old. But playing rugby was getting harder because you work till the nightclub shuts at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So you're either going straight to a game and you're like, oh, this is the last thing I could be bothered doing, or you're just like, I just want to play. Yeah, so went through that sort of merry-go-round for a little while, and then in 2008 met a bunch of the convicts boys, the gay team convicts, and they just harassing me, come play. I was working at Oxford Hotel, and then they all sort of frequent there, and then I thought, oh fuck it, and then they were actually going to Ireland on tour. I was like, I was just like twisting my arm. So so I went on tour with the convicts. It was like completely random, and still, great. Like I still talk to those guys today. Like had the best tours of my life. Like
they're still around, right?
Yeah, they're one of the most successful teams ever. It's the only time I've ever been invited to Rugby Australia. Is when we won the bin. It's the only time Rugby Australia's ever acknowledged me. It was actually, it's the biggest rugby comp in the world.
But I mean, if that doesn't tell you, mate, that rugby is the game that transcends all. Back in when was that? That was what, 2008, when it still wasn't like it is to now, like where if it offends someone you can't do it. But back then it was sort of seen as their community and our community, right? And you've gone, screw this. It's a chance to play rugby tour. You probably had a fat time over there, and it just shows that it doesn't matter what someone else does, as long as you can have fun with them. That's all it matters.
Like even back then, like we're colleagues, we played Mossman, and we're having skulls speeches at the end, and then like one of these Mossman colts got up and he's just like doing the speeches, and he's just like, I just want to, one of our colleagues colts, and he's like, oh, and then like Mossman, thanks for bringing your gay team as well. And everyone's just like, convicted part of colleagues, so it's like you wear colleague shorts and you get colleague skulls and whatever.
Yeah.
And then he was just so oblivious. He just assumed that every team had a gay team. I was like, no, mate. colleagues is like, they were well ahead of the curve. They were like, 2006, I think convicts started at colleagues, which just shows that how, and there was no DEI. It wasn't. There was still a lot of homophobia in sport and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see. Just a bunch of dudes that wanted to play rugby. Like there's nothing special about it. There was no.
How was the tour? Was it like? Did you play against any notable teams or any good places, or?
We played over in Ireland at DCU, so I knew it pretty well. I'd been there before, and you played a lot of American teams because Mark Bingham was in the 9/11.
Yeah,
He's one of the guys that tried to, the one that crashed in Pennsylvania. He's one of the ones that tried to overtake terrorists. And
no,
when I was in New York, I actually went and found his name on the memorial.
Yeah,
it's pretty surreal. Like I didn't know the guy by any means, but I thought, that's what a story, Like he he's a collegiate athlete and like just happened to be gay, but love rugby and to have that comp named after him, and his mum would come to the comps as well, Alice.
Yeah,
she'd hang out with you and stuff like that, which is cool. But
sorry for my ignorance. So was it a gay comp?
Yeah, it's a gay rugby World Cup.
Oh, right. Yeah. You should have led with that, mate.
Yeah, you don't have to you have to be gay. Like there's heaps of straight people and whatever. But it's called the Gay Rugby World Cup. It's what's the biggest.
So just to catch everyone up there that didn't hear that. So Paddy's just gone to Ireland. But what it turns out was the team he went with, they actually went to the Gay Rugby World Cup. Continue, please.
It's called the Bingham Cup. Yeah, named after Mark Bingham. And then, a lot of American teams because he's obviously American. So, so a lot of American teams in there, a lot of European teams. There's 4, I think, Australian teams. There's Brisbane Hustlers, Melbourne Chargers, and someone else, Perth or someone maybe. I'm not sure. It's massive now, man. It's absolutely
the
massive.
the Bingham Cups are in Brisbane soon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had a girl reach out to me asking for some players from Melbourne, but I hit up T and SB, and they're busy working. But it's on up there soon.
Yeah. So convicts are the most successful. They've won it 5 times.
Yeah,
right. They're the most successful team, but yeah, they were a big part of colleagues in subbies. Yeah, so that was.
What did you do after that? What did you do after that tour, mate? Where'd you go? Where'd life take you? Like, obviously, you're a physio now, so you must have got there eventually.
Went back to Port Mac. Working security, and I was sort of working in and out of sort of that realm, and then I moved up to Port Mac. I was going to go over to England actually, and then just work and be a professional amateur rugby bum over there. But the global financial crisis hit, and then
that'll put a dent in everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So all my mates who were over there are like, don't come back over here. You need to stay where you are. We're all coming home because the sort of world fell apart financially anyway, and all the jobs are in England, UK, and stuff sort of were dried up a bit and hard to get. So I was in Port Macquarie already. I thought, I'll just stay here. Yeah. And ended up staying in Port randomly. Yeah, wasn't meant to, and ended up staying there.
You found a rugby club there?
Yeah, kind of. I was still kind of loving going back to colleagues and convicts, and you just go down there and play. We call it 6th grade Super League, Halligan Cup. You just walk up and play, no training. 20-minute halves. Yeah, 20-minute halves, and you're either playing a team of absolute mercenaries who have been dropped, first graders who haven't got training, or you're playing. Or you're just playing a bunch of dad's armies who haven't trained in 8 years. So it was always hit and miss. And I was kind of loving coming down to Sydney and best of both worlds. But it's kind of with the Port Macquarie Pirates, I'd go down there and support them a little bit, and met a lot of the Pirates boys. And still, like, I went down there a couple of weeks ago and still have a laugh with them. So
There is a rumor that recently you were asked to leave a Port Macquarie Pirates game for possibly, how do we say it? Because Jack's only a little fella, possibly abuse of little people. Is there any truth to that rumor, Paddy?
I don't know if it was so much me. I was sitting with a couple of Vikings in Jono and Nico, so I'd like to think it was more them. But AJ Gilbert and Jack got a fair sledge.
Fair. Sorry, I interrupted you there. But we had to talk about that.
It's somewhat true, but I'd like to blame the Vikings rather than
me. So you're hanging out with the Pirates.
Yeah, so I had some good mates play for them, and then from that we kind of started Warhope Thunder Rugby in 2015. A lot of sort of old Pirates, sort of at their end of their playing career at Pirates, went over and we started Warhope as a brand new club, which was interesting. Had a lot of good memories there. Not too many wins, but some pretty good memories.
You built something from the ground up, though, mate. Like it's special seeing it, and you've probably seen that now with Nomads as well.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Warhope was good.
Warhope was good. Yeah. So is that where you did your physio degree in Port Macquarie?
Yeah, actually, I started my first degree in rehab science. I did that at Port Macquarie, and then they didn't offer physio in Port at the time, so I went down to Albury Wodonga. I started working down on the defence base there.
Quickly then, we're in Port Macquarie. I have a special guest question too from I'm not allowed to. Actually, I'll say who it is because we'll give him a plug, right? So Georgia White is our physio on tour. So we've got a founder that's a physio, but we have to get another physio. Work that out. Anyway, George has told me to ask the question. Firstly, how many laps around the car park did you used to do before you thought, no tutorials today?
I barely got one. Sometimes I go to uni and I drive and I'll see, oh fuck, there's no car park here. I just go home. Yeah, I was definitely a studious student. Sure.
So that leads to the second question. Did you receive substantial help and you owe your whole physio career to Georgia?
Oh, 100%. I've never tried to hide that.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. Sorry, and then so you went down to Albury Wodonga. That's where you did your physio down there.
Yeah, I started down there. Yeah, so I was in a bit of a unique position where my first degree gave me a lot of credits for physio. So like I kind of already did half the degree, physio degree already in terms of theory, and I had to do the pracs. So I was down at Albury, but I was only doing one or two subjects. So my full time would be 4 subjects. So I had a lot of time on my hands. So I started working down there at Latchford Barracks. So already sort of done some previous stuff for defence. So it was an easy transition in terms of security clearance and all that sort of stuff. So
it's an interesting place, Latchford Barracks.
It is, mate. Yeah. Bunch of mechanics, cooks, and medics.
It's the nurses you got to worry about, man. The medics.
Oh, the medics are definitely the worst by far. The most unhinged by.
I think at one time there was an ecstasy lab or something was one of the medics was running in his cupboard or something.
A pill press, yeah. Like there's always every year the story got. There was 45 federal police cars. There was 60 tanks. There was Abrams tanks. There was was there?
It's probably some crusty old sergeant that's just walked in and seen it and gone, "Come on, mate, come for a walk."
Apparently, there was a standoff between the MPs and there was, as you know, as Latch come up into it, it was black, blue, and red siren. Like you could imagine, it would be a scene in the dark coming up that sort of incline. But before my time.
It's no, it makes it interesting. But so like I like to use this phrase, Paddy, like that you're only one injury away from being an ex-footballer, and that's pretty much what happened to you, isn't it? Like you had a head knock or something, wasn't
it? Yeah, it was a difficult thing. Like I never really. It took me years to put 2 and 2 together. The injury is a tough one. I think now we talk about it more than ever, but back then it was like an invisible disease. Like you have a broken arm, you don't have a car. It's like, oh, what's wrong with you? And like, I don't actually know. Like some days you can remember shit, some days you can't. And then I ended up getting what they call hydrocephalus, which is like fluid on the brain, and it was actually a coincidental finding. Like I went there, I thought I broke my thumb. I didn't actually go there for my head.
Hang on. I can't wait to hear how this relates.
Yeah.
You get your thumb.
Yeah, I thought I broke my thumb for the 1000th time. It was just sore. To rub it on my jumper would be painful. And I was like, back then they used to give you out opioids like M&Ms. Like you could go to your team doctor. Here, have a sheet of tramadol, have a sheet of whatever. So yeah, went back to Port and I took a high to tramadol. Oh, you're right. I'll have a good sleep and it'll be good. And then woke up and all my vision was blurry. And I thought, oh shit, I might have overdone it with this bloody tramadol. Maybe got it too hard.
At a party.
I said to my mum, I was like, oh, I can't really see that well. She's like, I'll probably go. I'm like, yeah, my thumb's killing me. And I went there and randomly I could see it was blurry. And the doctor gets this paper clip and a lighter out, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like I should have stayed in Sydney. Like he hits up this paper clip and just puts it through my nail, and this big ball of pus just comes out, and I was like, instant relief. And I was like, oh, thanks, doc. I got to walk out, and he's like, where are you going, mate? Like you're going for a CT scan, like you can't see. And I was like, oh, I should be right. Come back.
It's a necessary sense.
Yeah. And then and then next minute, I'm in Port Macquarie Hospital for 20 something days, and just thinking I was going to walk out with a thumb paper clip, yeah, and they were sort of wondering, drain the brain fluid through the spine, and they were going to do it, then they weren't going to do it, and they did it, and then it kind of worked, and then and it was a bit of a weird time because we weren't expecting to walk into hospital and stay there, and then probably the knock-on effect from head injuries, man. That no one, they were really not well documented or spoken. Same as in the army, right? Most just didn't talk about injuries.
Well,
could put a line through your career.
They said that with my TBI. Like, they said it was could be from a number of things. They can't narrow it down. But what they are finding with a lot of TBIs, and not necessarily me, because I wasn't in the back of a carrier too much. A lot of the boys in the back of carriers, like with the helmets on, the weight of the helmet and moving, they reckon just that little tap, tap, tap on your head all the time. A lot of boys are coming out of it with TBIs out of it, and they reckon by the time you're 60, you'll have Alzheimer's.
Same as artillery, man. Like a lot of the concussive forces go through your sinus.
Yep.
So even though they're ear muffs on and they're ducking down, all of it through their nose, and sort of rattles the brain that way, and all the sinus tubes and stuff like that. A lot of those guys have tinnitus and ringing ears and all sorts of ongoing stuff, even despite wearing protective.
They got more than that wrong with them, brother.
yeah.
Man, they're crazy. Like artillery guys used to love being on promotion courses with them because you guarantee they're the biggest nutters, which was good. So you went from all that, Paddy, and obviously you're a big dude, man, and it's hard. I know myself, like I'm 46 or whatever. My last game of football was in Alaska when me and you got yellow carded in that friendly game, old man's game. But I still wish I could be out. Still wish I could be out there playing. Like you see it, especially like watching Coop, my young fella, run around and that. But you went from, and I think this is very important that these kids learn this lesson. That's why I want to talk to you about it. But you went from football was something that got me involved socially, was part of my life, right? And then you thought, in my conversations with you, you've realised I love football. I want to be part of football, but I can't play anymore. So what do? I coach. And you turned it around, mate, and you started coaching, eh?
Yeah, kind of. The coaching sort of happened by default, actually. Like I probably always thought I'd probably be more physio than coach, fair, but obviously starting a new club from scratch, it's all hands on deck. So I started coaching our under 12s team, and then started coaching our. We had this. There was no women's comp in Mid North Coast, so we had all these women show up to our training. So we just let them train with, like we only had one grade, right? So anyway, we just let them train with the boys, and but then sometimes they needed to go off. The boys needed to run, do their own thing. So I just started coaching the girls at Wallhope out of default, I suppose, and then we just grew this program that was really successful in the North Coast. So them and Pirates were probably the two teams that went back and forth for years and years, and so yeah, I sort of got into that, and it just took off really, really quickly.
That's pretty interesting. But the two most successful women's teams, you'd think would be the furthest ones apart, so they don't have to draw from each other. But Port Macquarie and Wallhope, right smack bang, aren't
they? Yeah. Like, and some players would travel either side and whatever, and but yeah, they went. Like I think we made 4 grand finals in a row to Pirates. But like nail biters too. Like one grand final, we played sevens with only 7 people, like no subs. We were kind of, I guess, the more battler type club, but it just adds to the story, like the girls just sort of,
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine now if that happened, man? Like the team would want to forfeit because I've only got 7. Show some heart.
that team alone produced, 2 NRLW players like Chloe Saunders.
Go on, spit them out. Who are they?
Yeah, but honestly, like Chloe Saunders killing it for Raiders, and obviously Ellie's killing it too. And then I think
Ellie Johnson has the best feet I think I've seen of an NRLW forward, as in footwork. I'll say that right now. I'm hoping one day that we can talk to her on here for a journey, because obviously we had her over in Fiji as part of Nomads, man, as well, and she's a good chick. But Jesus, she can play.
she's just always been that. Like she came from netball. She was just always really athletic, like to jump, pluck balls out of the air and stuff like that. She's always had that ability to do that. And Chloe was just like fit, fast, determined. Like
Yep.
but even besides them, you had a string of Corellas come out of that team, like, and it was just like, and Pirates too. Like it was just a real nice purple patch in that time of mid North Coast rugby. Like, but
Iron sharpens iron too, doesn't it?
absolutely, yeah. But I mean, in terms of progression, I went from that to Aon Uni Sevens, which was like,
Yeah.
ringing up the NFL and asking to be a quarterback. Like,
Yeah.
it was just crazy to go from Warhope to that.
So how did that come about, Paddy? Like that's interesting, isn't it? Like I've got this up, like I'm full of sayings that I steal off other people. Like I love Nick Saban, right? And Nick Saban said that it wasn't Nick Saban. Someone anyway. They said that that luck isn't luck. What it is, it's preparation meeting opportunity. So however, that's the luck you're going to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you've said. Like you've learned, and then all of a sudden opportunities come knocking, really, hasn't it?
Sure, and I think like I was on a level 2 course in Costa Harbour. It was actually a really good course. Like we had Rippy and Maverard, and Jimmy Perrott was the DO there, playing gunner now. Like it was actually probably one of the best rugby courses I've done, I reckon. And then at the end, Jimmy Perrott just goes, "Oh, I've got this. If anyone's interested, there's this new thing coming about."
You're at the course, and there was an offer there. What was the offer, bud?
So Jimmy Perry just said, there's this new concept. It's a 7 thing. It's a women university. Not too much info about it. No one knew anything about it. But like any rugby course, it's full of a bunch of old dudes,
Yeah.
So they had no interest. They just sevens, and they just bagged out coaching women basically. So so for me, like I already coached women. I already go to uni, and I was just like, oh man, that's right up my alley.
Yeah.
Little did I know, I was walking into a complete high performance program where our first game, we beat Charlotte Kazak's team. I'm standing on this field, and then Ben Gollins is coaching Bond. We've just beaten UNE. Armidale has just beaten a team full of gold medal Olympians. And then I'm in this stadium in Tasmania. Luke Burgess is the other team. She's there. I'm looking around going, what the hell am I, like, how am I here? And I was just hooked on, I was just like, this is it. Like, how good's this? Like the big stadium and the lights, and like Alicia Quirk was like just screaming at me for like things I had no control. I was like, and I was like, how good is this? and then so I just got like obviously hooked on sevens, and I always liked sevens, but never saw it at the actual top end. Just saw it as a bit of a fuck around pre-season, sort of post-season history. But when I actually found the game in 2016, 17, whatever it was, I was like, man, this is awesome.
Do you think it's actually the game that drew you in, or listening to you talk there, it sounded like it was the high performance that drew you in? To start with, once you got there, you went, fuck yeah, I want to be able to build an elite team. Is that what, like, I know you wouldn't have thought that, but now that you sit back and think, do you think that's what it's taken you towards? Like, I want to build my own elite team.
I think it's like, it's almost like the whole, like, I don't want to compare to the two, they're different, but it's almost like that special forces sort of stigma or air about it, like that. I was really intrigued by the mindset of these players. I've never seen anyone so performance driven and so elite, because rugby players aren't elite athletes, and I know this pisses people off, but definitely professional, don't get me wrong. But when you look at, especially in physio land, when you look at like common games at the moment, when you look at swimmers, when you look at marathon runners, like they have 4-year macro cycles. that are
What
just
about
like
that chick that won today? She won the high jump for
yeah,
Australia. Like, she got the gold medal. Like, she's an athlete, man. Like,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then I think the sevens side of it was the first time I've ever seen that real high performance psychological mindset, you know, around like everything's dictated from food to recovery, everything, and then mixed with the rugby skill set. I think it's the closest we've ever seen to elite sort of rugby players, and I think that was the psychology behind the how do you just get up and go again at the 8th minute when you gassed 5 minutes ago. Like that was fascinating to me, you know, and
it's probably a good thing for the young kids too to understand, I think, because young kids all play carnival football, right? And you just mentioned about the diet and all that sort of thing. As parents, and you mentioned earlier, and I don't want to start you off again, but about these under 10s carnivals and stuff like that, right? You try and get an under 10s kid to come off that's got to play again in another hour and explain to him he's got to fuel his body properly, you know?
yeah.
So, like, so that's, I understand that, but the kids that are 16 and 17, if they watch sevens, sorry, I got a tangent there. If they watch sevens, they get to understand how maintaining over the whole day, playing multiple games and stuff. You know, it's the only way they can see it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough in that junior space to keep the kids are directly relying on their parent, especially at that age. But
Yeah.
it's really about trying to educate the parents in that as well. And again, I think that's at Nomads what we do well in junior space is that winning is not in our. It's obviously we're competitive. We always want to win, but first and foremost, like fall in love with the game. That's the thing. Everything else will follow. And then if you're in love with the game, you're going to want to do those 1%ers. You're going to want to make sure that you're hitting grams of retail, you are using a normal tech, that you are hydrating with electrolytes, etc. Like you do that by default.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big thing. Yeah, if it's just something you do because your friend does, I don't think that message will ever go through.
And you would see that, like, the competitiveness in what you were saying at the Aon Sevens, the competitiveness internally, like the healthy competitiveness. I'm going to be better than you. No, I'm going to be better than you. And they're happy if they are better than you, because they know they've reached their height. You know, that's what these kids miss, is that appreciation for that person achieving what they want to achieve, right?
Yeah, just they've got that humble arrogance about them too. You know, like they're always going to back themselves. Like I remember in Fiji one year, Heather missed a tackle. She just sprinted, turned around and chased for 60 meters till she threw up in the in goal. And I tried to give her water. She goes, I don't deserve it. And then walks back for the kickoff. You know, I was like, she literally until she's spewed.
Yeah.
She missed the tackle. You know, just different mindset.
It's funny you bring up that example, just so that everyone understands. When we'll talk about Nomads in a second, but like the influence that Paddy has actually had on a few people's lives. He's talking about that never give up. And my young fella Cooper is number 10 fly half down in Sydney for West Harbour Pirates, Colts. And one thing that I'm so proud of him this year is, after listening to you a couple of years ago when you first met him and you told him that story, is that you'll always see that no matter when that tries being scored, and it's probably just a proud father thing watching, but he's always chasing that player. You know, it's never over. And you taught people that, and obviously through that experience, you know.
Yeah, sure, man. Like, look at Nicole Beck's highlight reels. In the game against Ireland, she pumps that chick in the in goal, and then she didn't put the ball down in time, and the pup just didn't stop chasing. You know, and absolutely punished her. You know, how good. It's just
but having the ability to do that is that high performance that you're talking about. Which I suppose leads us into, so you say you did it for high performance. I say it's because you wanted a holiday every 5 minutes. Why did you create Pacific Nomads, mate?
It's like I think like anything, it just happened organically. Like I get heaps of people messaging me now saying they want to start their own. Well, like, mate, that's off to you. Like more than merrier, in my opinion. But make sure that you're doing it for the right reason. So for us, it just happened out of chance. You know, like we went on tour. So me, Georgia, Laveni, Medi Baker. We were all over in LA for LA Sevens with another American-based team, and then
Are you talking
boys went
Georgia
really
White?
well.
You're saying Georgia White?
Yeah,
Yep.
Georgia White, yeah. So we were over in LA for LA Sevens. That's the year that Australia men won the world champs. So we were there for that, which was cool. And then our men's team made the final, so we played in the stadium. We played just before the Aussies in the HSBC Stadium, which was
that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah. And then that team was supposed to go to Coral Coast, Fiji, in 2023. So this was in 2022, like October or November or something. It was delayed because of COVID that year. And then yeah, so I already booked my ticket, and I was just like, yeah, I took the family for a bit of a Fiji holiday. We've been to Fiji with this team 3 times before, so we kind of knew what I was getting into. And then yeah, they folded. I was like, shit, I've got a ticket to Fiji. Like, what am I going to do? I could just holiday with my family, obviously, but I said to Laveni, mate, do you want to take a team to Coral Coast? Do you want to take the team we're going to take? We'll just do it. And then he's like, yeah, man. And then so yeah, I rang up Coral Coast, Jay White, and like it's like again a bit audacious, really. Like, hey, we're an absolutely nobody team from everywhere, and then can we enter the Coral Coast Sevens? And for some reason he said yes. And then
I've never heard Jay say no, mate.
Yeah, but I think if I asked him now, he'd probably tell me to get lost. But yeah, we had Pio and we had Tucker Tricky, who's playing for USA at the moment. We had Nico. We obviously had Laveni. We had a couple of boys from Tamworth Pirates, Brad Mail and Toby Maz. Yep. Yeah, we first beat Ratu Felici, and everyone just like, who are these guys? Like what happened here? And then yeah, it was one of our most successful Coral Coast. And
you've thrown a few big names around there, man.
Yeah.
You better explain who they are.
Well, Pierre is a Fijian legend. Tucker Tricky was sort of trying to come up in the USA ranks there. Like, he wasn't capped or anything, and but yeah, he was. You look at photos of him and you look at photos of him now, you're like, Jesus, like 2 or 3 years of S&C and then full-time athlete, and then but yeah, he was just that whole team was just good vibes, and like when you look where they're at now, oh man, how cool was that? But it was never supposed to be like that. You know, like, it was, who wants to come?
Mate,
we got a team.
P.O.'s royalty in Fiji, and he just doesn't wear a crown. You know, like
yeah. It's the only time where like you'd be walking to the tunnel and you'd have your timings on. You're like, all right, 5 minutes, we've got to be in the tunnel, and he's there getting pictures with babies and bloody, you know, like culturally.
I remember when we caught up with him at Fiji this year. Just the ultimate gentleman, isn't he? Like, he nicest man you ever meet. I only met him that day, and you know, talking to him. Then every time you walk past, he'd shake your hand. Hello, Mr. Pete. I'm like, dude, I should be like shaking your hand, you know. But he speaks highly of what you've done with Nomads, mate. In the sense, when we were talking, he said that there's actually kids over in Fiji, which I can attest to, because one of them was wearing Cooper's jersey, that come back every year to support Nomads. You know, you've become a cult figure over there, pretty much, Nomads.
And we actually did that from the start too. Like, a lot of people do it now for like they'll sweep the change rooms and put it on social media, you know, like just for the praise or whatever. But for whatever reason, we first year we had a whole heap of these were like Bunnings footies, like they're like $8, $6 footies, because we're a brand new team, like we didn't have any money. So we weren't buying Gilbert footies or anything. We still don't.
Little harmless shove there. We've got no money. Anyone wants to reach out and sponsor Nomads? Yeah.
But then we just giving out a whole heap of kit, and we started giving out our footies and stuff like that, and people were filming it and stuff like that, and then I was like, oh, that's cool. And we went into the communities. Like we'd go into the villages, and like we've got our own little village there in the summer village in Latoka, and then we go there every year, and kids still remember players' names. They still remember, oh, where's Ben Park? You know, where's Ben? Yeah, like
Benny Park
like,
would have been a cult figure over there.
It was he was the king of the kids, man. But like just little things like that, and then every year we just ramped it up, and now we're taking garbage bags full of stuff, and the crowds, you've got 5,000-6,000 people, like they generally like want to wear that Varel shirt, or they want to wear that Newcastle Wanderer shorts or whatever, that they actually love it.
Yeah. I remember last year, one of the coolest experiences I've ever had with football. Obviously, Coop played in the under-20s the year before, and we went to that village where on the boats or whatever, and a kid, that was the year before. So then this year, a kid come up and pulled on my shorts. No one had seen him. He knew who I was and asked where Cooper was because he had Cooper's jersey on. And I'm like, you serious? Like this kid that has travelled that far to come and see someone who's associated with the Nomads, mate. Like that's pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's something that we've done everywhere too. Like we always give our stuff away, and it's just not to show off or not to. It's just generally like that footy or that pair of shorts or that singlet. Like these people are pretty humble. They live pretty modestly. Like it's actually something those kids remember fondly.
Is it true that you threw a Sydney Uni jersey into the crowd and they threw it back at you?
No, that was Marlins.
Mate, that's admirable that you do it. Like, and I've seen it firsthand, and it chokes you up just thinking about it. Sometimes, you see these kids and they're running around in these singlets that are too big for them, but they've got Nomads on them. They're obviously passionate about their football, and it's something that they enjoy. Do you think though? Obviously, Fiji's massive in your heart, and that's probably where you started. So that's your roots. But what are the other places that you toured that you take Pacific Nomads, mate?
Oh, we've been to Fiji 4 times. We've been to Tahiti once. We've been to Hawaii twice now. Once with the juniors, once with the girls. We've been to Alaska. We've been to France, and Singapore. I've been to New Zealand a couple of times. So I think we're up to 10 or 11 international tours, which is pretty decent.
In 3 years. In 3 years.
Yeah, it's a fair. Yeah, it's fairly big now, and it's everyone. The hard thing is everyone wants to invite you to come to this tour, come to this tour. And I was like, well, mate, we don't have an unlimited pot of funding. Coaches and players pay their own way, but I think people underestimate how hard it is to actually to get a tour off the ground, and there's no support from. You can't go to Rugby Australia or whoever and say, hey mate, I want to do this concept. Can you give me the playbook on what I need to do? A lot of it was paint by numbers, make mistakes, learn from mistakes. So we do this really well. Let's keep doing that. Let's stop doing that. Look, it's been hard that way as well. So to run tour after tour after tour, it's not feasible. So we sort of pick our battles. Where do we want to send it?
I think one thing you said there that I know I'm on the reciprocating end of it because I'm part of it, but we do pay our own way in more ways than one. The time and that, and as much fun as these tours are, would it be fair to say, Paddy, sometimes they can be a real pain in the ass, and the fun gets sucked out of them. So it's important to really find the right person for the tour as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like you look at the France tour we had, and we went bare bones because of the distance. We don't usually travel that far. And the Venny couldn't make it, so I had to coach and physio. But it was one of the best tours we had because the group of girls were just like, go with the flow, and everyone just ripped in. And Switzerland in the final of the plate, and ended up winning the plate. And I was like, it was a mad tour. It was probably one of the most enjoyable tours, but it was the rawest, less serviced sort of tour, and it's the same thing. Everyone's just paid to be there, and everyone's just happy to be in Europe. So
yeah. Do you find that people tend to I know my thoughts on it, but I want to know yours. Do you find that people tend to want to be on a holiday rather than a rugby tour sometimes?
Sometimes this is where the recruitment comes in. Probably in the early days, sometimes you've just got to fill a tour, like you can't be that selective, especially as you're building the brand and the name and stuff like that. And now we can sort of be a bit more selective on who we take. And we've always been adamant about, like, we might not take the best rugby player, but we'll take the better human, and we've fallen into the trap of taking better rugby players, but just not so desirable humans. And so it's like, I think you've got to always come back to your core. Why are we doing this? And for us, it's always been about showing people the world. Like, you don't, just because you live in Coast Harbour or just because you live in Port or Inverell or Tamworth or wherever, it doesn't mean you have to be stuck there for rugby. Like, you can still go around the world, but you can still back and come and work on the farm as well. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can sort of have the best of both worlds if you want. And same as with kids, man, just show them there's a massive world out there. You don't have to, your value as a player isn't in a New South Wales or a country Queensland or country New South Wales jersey or whatever rep jersey. It's your self-worth isn't wrapped up in that bit of cloth. Like, you can still go and play Shoot Shield and not make those teams. You can still go and play overseas and not make those teams. Like, this is proof, and I think that's been the best thing in the junior space. Kids that would maybe never even have a passport have now been to places like Cook Islands and Fiji and Hawaii and New Zealand. Chances of them leaving Tamworth or Armidale or wherever were probably pretty bloody slim before that,
Remember that first team we took to New Zealand, mate, for the Global Youth Under-18s, Coop's age group, apart from being nightmares. But how many of those boys did have to go and organise passports for, because they never had them, like they'd never thought that it was something they were worthy of.
Yeah, look at one of the stories there. Like, he was adopted in the kinship system. It's something that a lot of people don't understand. And then
say that again, mate. It just glitched out a bit.
Just around that, Indigenous boy. He was adopted. With the kinship system. He's essentially raised by his, what we'd call auntie or uncle, like or cousin or whoever it was, and then so for him to get his passport was just like, oh man, you just saw a whole new level of barrier that growing up in just your standard household, as a white Australian or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the political term there. Like, we'd never have that issue, you know what I mean? And just the amount of heartbreak. Is he going? Is he not going? Or is the passport office going to come through? And that opened my eyes to this kid. Anyway, if his mum can keep persevering and advocating for him, you know what I mean? And us in the background, there was support letters. There was all sorts of stuff going everywhere. I think that's the biggest gift that Nomads gives kids is the passport. Like, it shows them there's a world out there. And I don't know what the stats are, but I reckon maybe 60 or 70% it's their first passport for a Nomads trip a lot of the time. I'd say it'd be around there, like, without an exact figure.
And that's not even just the kids, eh?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, some mum and dad have, obviously worked hard and didn't have the means when they were younger to travel, and now they're in a better position and they want to. Yeah, a lot of the time, mum and dad, it's their first time as well. Yeah.
One of the things I think is cool about what you do with Nomads, mate, with that is a lot of parents, they get 4 weeks holidays a year, right? And their kids are going to carnivals and stuff like that, and they don't ever want to. Parents sacrifice so much for their kids. And I'm just saying that because I am one, and I'm, financially scarred forever because of it. But what you've done is you've provided a space where they can also have a holiday at the same time if they want to go and watch their kid, and probably paying the same amount as what they would if they go to one of these New South Wales carnivals or whatever. Not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, it's probably $3,000 once you finish up at a carnival, And what was the Cook Islands was, I think, $3,000 for 7 days. You know, they play some footy, get some culture, have a holiday.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that rugby tourism's obviously becoming popular now, and it kind of grinds my gears a little bit because of like, I know exactly how much these companies and New South Wales juniors took a team to LA. Yeah, the profit on that is tens of thousands. It's not just unless they're really blowing the budget out on overpriced costing. Yeah, to take a team to LA, like we're talking, maybe 30 odd grand off the top of my head. And I was just like, that's cool. If you want to make money off that, that's cool. But like, I think you should disclose it, and that's what we do at Nomads every time. Someone's paid for, maybe their club or a sponsor's pay for them. Sit them down at the start, and you go, everyone has paid this dollar amount except this person because of this reason, and it just stops that sort of he said, she said. That financial stuff can become a bit of a cancer, and I think when we're coming through in the junior space, we've got to identify: do we want to be the factory or with the retail store? If you put on this retail product and it's this big tourist, rugby tourist type product, that's fine, but you've got to have all the bells and whistles. But if you're the factory, if you're responsible for creating the quote unquote pathway, I don't think you be charging the price of the retail store, if that makes sense. And I think that's where we've got a massive grey area at the moment, where
Do you think
kids
that
are
sort of accessibility sort of is cut off because of the price of some things? Have you found that with Nomads, mate? Like that, they're going, oh, this is good because I can actually afford to do it.
Oh, 100%. I think we never wanted to make money off this. This was never a thing of, and don't get me wrong, we could make great money off it if we wanted to. And by great money, I don't mean enough to support someone's full-time wage, but you could make enough money to make 10, 20 grand off a tour as a nice little keep to put in your pocket. But we've always been of the opinion, want to keep as low as possible. Yes, there does need to be a buffer for contingency. If someone gets sick, you might have to send them home early, stuff like that. There needs to be a 10 or so % buffer in there. But we're pretty hopeless. We just keep giving it to kids. That kid's going through a tough time, can't afford to go. Like, look at New Zealand. We had a girl. We just $5,000. Like, we just didn't bother chasing it. And look what she's done now. She's on a massive contract. So because we've always been about not trying to make it accessible. And I think some of the prices of tours now, you think, oh, $7,000, $8,000. That's can mum and dad go on that? Probably not. A $3,000 tour, mum and dad could probably come because they're willing to spend $6,000.
With that, obviously comes if there is a flash hotel in the other one, then that's cool. But obviously comes with sometimes, and I know this, so I'm sort of setting you up, but I'm going to ask, like, there's times where the accommodation hasn't been great or something hasn't worked on the tour. We'll get out there. Like the Hawaii tour that neither you or I could go on wasn't exactly fun from our angle. What's the worst thing that you've had happen to you on a tour, man?
I don't know if it was that. No, like I'll put it into context. I think it comes down to the mindset of the player, because like we went to Singapore, accommodation changed last minute. Admittedly, we were only there for 2 nights. It didn't really matter too much. But I booked another hotel just out of, that's kind of in the same area that will do. Like our logistics was so the same. It ended up being in the bloody red light district. There was like 30 brothels around this hotel, but the hotel was really nice.
Just to clarify, this wasn't a junior tour.
No, it was women's. Yeah, we're on the way to Paris, right? When the girls got in, I said, "Oh, girls, I've made a bit of a sorry. I didn't realise. Obviously, it was a big country. It was the tamest red light district you've ever seen in your life." But the girls just had a laugh about it, going, "Oh, who gives a shit? The rooms are nice, they're clean. You know what I mean? Like, like it's safe. Like, who cares?" So I think it just comes down to it also comes down to, this is why we like to tour to the same place multiple times, because your logistics are only as good as your network. So once you establish your network on the ground, everything's just really seamless,
Yeah. So what you're saying there is that if you set the expectation before they get there, and by going to the same place all the time, you know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. And then, in Fiji, staff remember the players' names. Like, you come back to the same place every year. Like they look forward to you staying there, and they go that extra mile for you. And that in turn gives
that place we're at this year was good.
Yeah, exactly right. And they give the players a better experience because they're genuinely excited for them to be there. So, which is cool.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Right, bud. I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you. Like, before I say that, look, I really appreciate the depth that you've gone into with your past and all that sort of stuff, because what I want to build this platform around is honesty and honest truth, because I think sometimes we all hide who we are and in fear that people are going to be weird about it. But I think people are more accepting of people if they understand who they are. That's what this is based around. So I appreciate you doing it. So anyway, so quick fire questions I'm going to ask everyone at the end of the thing. So what's your favourite rugby memory?
Rugby memory.
Did I say quick fire? I meant to say quick fire.
Probably 2018, I think we played Division 1 uni games. I was the coach of the CSU women's team, and we played against Griffith, who were just full of stack full of Aon players, and we won the gold medal, so Division 1 champions, double extra time on the bell. Darcy Morrison scored in the corner. It was probably one of the best wins, I reckon.
Must be a good memory if you remember that much about it, mate. That's how good's that. What's your favourite place you've toured? So if you've done it multiple times, give me the year.
Favourite place? Cook Islands, I'd say. Like, probably one of the most beautiful places there. It's so laid back, so beautiful. Yeah.
I want to retire there, man. What's your dream rugby destination?
I think Alaska's pretty special, like Justin Green's house. I think I honestly believe it's one thing you've got to see to believe. Like, I think it's, in terms of rugby pilgrimage, I wish everyone could do it once.
What about the moose walking across the field after we have a beer? That's
crazy.
freaky.
You can't do justice telling people about it.
I'll whack up a photo in this at the end, or Jaden will, and show you this bloke's place. It's unreal. It's a log cabin. It's got his own football field. He runs his own tournament. It's just beautiful. What's your favourite sevens tournament?
Coral Coast, in terms of players wanting to test themselves, like against like Fijians are just built different for sevens. The heat, the noise, 10,000 people crowd, it separates players. It gets the men from the boys and the girls from the women, sort of thing.
It's mate, I 100% agree with you. It's my favourite tournament to watch by far, purely because of the skills. Like, you see the ones that are in the sevens teams for Fiji, to me, it looks like they've gone, yep, you'll do, because the other four beside you are just as good as you.
Yeah, it's the only tournament where you watch a village team just knock off the All Black sevens or Aussie sevens, just knock them off in a pool round or knock them out in a quarter, and just not even break a sweat. And you're like, what am I watching?
Or have Mikey Friday throwing his hat around. Who's the best player you've ever coached? Look, I appreciate it, but my Ella Sevens, you can't use that.
I had a Central North team one year. Charlie Henderson and Sid Harvey together. Pretty crazy, like in terms of a sevens combo. I wish Hendo played a little bit more rugby. Obviously, Sid went on and played Aussie sevens and what he's doing now, but those two together were that was just different. Definitely. Shame we didn't get to see more of Hendo in the rugby space.
Now we've both been involved with Sid Harvey in the past. Do you think that I'll say right now, I personally think he is the closest thing we've seen to Matt Burke since Matt Burke.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, man. He's just so good on him, eh? Like, just
I think he's better than Burke. I think he can be better than Matt Burke.
I think he's got that more country humbleness about him, and I think it's just a product of his environment. Eh? Like when you talk to Dennis and when you talk to Martha and stuff, you can just see it's that just good old fashioned work ethic and humility. And yeah, last I saw Narrabri, he was 16 or something. It was just him and Bernard just down there doing extras, kicking goals. You know, look at his goal kicking now. Didn't happen through chance. Like he's been working on it for years and years and years, and good on him, man. Eh? Like such a good story.
I remember I was with the coaching group for the under-18s country the last year that he played, and that was the last time that we beat City, and had Benny Park and Brendan Palmer and those sort of boys in it. Mate, Sid was just a natural leader. It was just a walk-up start. Hazy just goes, it's not even a contest, mate. You know, this kid is going to be a future star, and for someone like Michael Hayes to say that, who's in fairness been there and done it, you know. But Hazy always said about Sid, he said what he likes is the way he squats as he turns, like, and changes direction, which is, you know, that's, I never really looked at a player that hard until Hazy said that, and then I realised that if you look at players, they've got those certain traits that just make them different, hey?
So you know he's got sneaky skills in that year as a Josh said.
Say that again.
Josh Honeysett out of that group.
Yep.
He's got sneaky 7 skills. At Fiji, he was like doing on the back, no look passes and stuff. It was crazy.
I've seen all you props think that you can pass, though. Hey, so right, what do you reckon is the most underrated skill in sevens?
Passing for sure. Like you look at, I know it's reductionist, but you look at teams that can put it on a dime at speed. You look at how many boys playing shoot even, or even shoot Colts can't. And then if you look at Levi for Titans, she's playing chess, mate. The rest are playing checkers. Like holy skill set. You know, it just shows those basic fundamentals of taking it to the line, look short, pass or whatever. She just has the ability to do all forms of passing under pressure. She's killing it.
I remember Shaps, like, and I'm not just saying it, but a lot of people have, like, Coop has got one of the best passes in Shoot Shield Colts. But Shaps reckons he went away to a Nomads tour. I forget where we went, but it must have been his first year he was there or something. He reckons he came back from that Nomads tour and his pass was 50% better because of needing to do it, you know?
Yeah, I know. And people, boys and girls, hate doing passing drills. They honestly hate it. But like if you can just unlock edges at speed, because you've got the ability to throw 10, 15 meters each way, sevens is a breeze, mate. Yeah,
it's good too for the kids. Like you talk about the passing in sevens, the boys that I know, again, Coop, you and Moody, those sort of boys that have played for us, they come back and they realise also that I don't want to sound like Al Pacino, but it's a game of inches, right? If you've got to reach for a ball, then you're not at full pace when you're hitting the ball, or if you've got to jug it, whatever. And it's that timing in sevens where they're so quick and on you that when they go back to shoot shield, that they can learn and they can understand that, right?
Yeah. It's I wish more club coaches did more passing. But yeah, passing is probably the most underrated.
What's one lesson, if you could tell any young player apart from join Nomads, what's one lesson that every young player should learn?
Yeah, probably just around selection. You know, like there's a lot of selection is just one person's opinion at that time. You know, like there's a lot of nepotism in it for sure. There's always going to be, and that's not exclusive to rugby. That's in every sport, whether that be rugby league or AFL or whatever. There's a lot of those picks because they're the kid of someone or their sponsor's kid or whoever, and then there's always just going to be coaches will pick what they're comfortable with. Some people call that favourites, or coaches know I'm going to get this out of that kid no matter what, and they're going to go with that familiar. The kid is familiar and comfortable, which it's not right or wrong, but it doesn't reflect your worth as a player if you don't get selected in a team, because it is only someone's opinion. And I don't know, as a selector in country, like Corellas is the only team where I've like been abused on text message by other people, and I'm like, well, it's my team, mate, and like,
well, that's for not picking someone.
Yeah, and I was like, you've only watched your player in their games. I've watched every single game, and the only reason she didn't get picked is because of this, and she's going up against her. So you tell me head to head if you want to say that she's better than now a Raw Brew. If I miss something, let me know. But again, it's not saying that she's a bad player. Like, she's come on Nomads tours, like it's not me having a personal thing against her. And I think sometimes kids can go one of two ways. They can go, do you know what, I'm back at sharpening the axe, or I'll just throw it in and go stuff this. And again, a lot of that comes down to the parents as well, about the environment they let their kids to get away with that, or if they do the life lesson there, which I think you can see that in Nomads a lot. The parents who are living through their kid, or they're trying to advocate too much for their kid, and it's just, well, sometimes you need to let them learn the lesson. And then sometimes you can see the parents would be like, you know what, good feedback, we'll be back. And they do. They come back and they're better for it.
I don't think there's been too many that haven't come back that we wanted to come back anyway, mate.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's honestly comes down, and sometimes, to their credit, man, I've had parents come back and say, "Oh, thanks, I really didn't think about it was affecting my child like that." But sometimes it's a learning curve for everyone, and then vice versa. Parents have come to us and say, "Hey, man, that feedback's a little bit too harsh. Have you thought about doing that?" I was like, "Oh, I never thought about it that way too." So, like that environment is always equal exchanges of learning, and I think if the kids, my advice to kids would just be to like, don't take it personally about selections. It doesn't. It's not your self-worth as a player.
I think it comes down to them understanding that also, Paddy, is that if you've got to have different paths to still reach that one goal that you want to reach. Like we always use a choice driven, that term that your future doesn't determine by where you started. It's the decisions you make now that's going to get you there.
Look at when we went to Auckland Blues, right? And not last year, the year before. Auckland Blues don't even touch a player until they're 17. Like they don't give it. They don't care about the 14-year-old superstar. They want to see if the 14-year-old superstar's a superstar at 17. And then what I liked about Auckland Blues is like, if I've got a 10 that can run and pass but can't kick, I'll just teach them to kick instead of just putting the line through them. But they want them to actually go and play provincial. They want them to play school. They want them to play club rugby, and they don't want to over academize or get them into an academy too early. They just want them to get reps on the board and have fun and love the game. And then at 17, they start to shape them into what they need for the Auckland Blues. And I thought that was really cool. I thought that was late development sport, right? Rugby.
Well, it's funny you say that. Like, you look at who's been more successful, the Auckland Blues or the Waratahs recently, mate. And the thing that I find funny is that with what you're just saying now, is that Pat Worth's just come out, the president of Eastwood, and said that he's made the claim that New South Wales Academy kids are going a bit busted up on a Monday and getting abused by New South Wales Academy for being selfish and getting themselves hurt in a club game on the weekend. So what is that telling people, man? Like they should be playing club footy. They should be getting that tribalism and that sort of stuff and helping grow. I mean, we can talk about that, and we might talk about that at another date. But yeah, it makes me laugh. Like, we're doing it that way and not succeeding, whereas Auckland's doing it that way and they're succeeding.
Yeah, and then Auckland, yeah, right. It's an 8-hour drive from the top Cape Reinga to the bottom of the counties. It's a massive zone. They've got of heavily Polynesian areas who have their own sort of political and cultural issues, and then you have areas of just complete ruralness, just like we do in New South Wales. But they were more similar than I thought. I thought it was just that come from, but I was actually blown away by that. It's 8 hours,
Yeah,
top to bottom, and then a couple of hours of east to west, and I was like, this zone is actually huge as a province. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
rightio. One word that describes Pacific Nomads.
Pretty audacious, I'd say.
Audacious.
Yeah.
Did you? Rightio.
Like I've always been a bit of a dreamer, man. To be honest, like I got told many times that nomads wouldn't work from multiple people, and I've always been of the view, like my dream for nomads is to be a multi-sport club. When we talk about junior development, like why couldn't we be a rugby league, an AFL, and a soccer club? Like, why couldn't we mix the two together? Why, like, is that what the future of it looks like? Because in rugby league and union and AFL, to some extent, we're competing for the same player.
I 100% agree with you, and that's why, like, with choice driven, yeah, it's choice driven, but there's branches underneath it that can actually access what people need, not just that one thing, mate. And I reckon that Nomads has got the potential to do the same because you're creating that cross-code athlete.
Yeah, so like, for example, I spoke to an AFL club recently and I said, hey man, here's my idea, we tour and blah blah blah. Would you ever consider doing an AFL rugby sevens tour together? We'll go. BG has starting to play AFL now, so it's like easy pick, and they just jumped at it. How good is this?
And we can get some kids that are from rugby background to play AFL and that sort of thing.
We're teaching rugby kids how to kick. We're teaching them spatial awareness. We're teaching them how to work off a ball. Like AFL's awesome skills, and then vice versa. We're teaching AFL players how to be more aggressive in contact and all sorts of stuff, right? But yeah, when I asked the rugby league and union seems like the logical meld, but I was like super against it, which is strange, isn't it? But yeah,
I think that's an indication of how worried they are with the the not minor league, whatever they call it, kick, Auskick. It's everywhere at the moment, and it's easy. It's over and done with, and probably less politics, I suppose, than what happens at rugby at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know too much. When I first delve into the AFL world, so I don't know too much about it. But yeah, when you tell people that plan of, I actually want to create junior athletes that are multi-sport, like multi-skilled. All the research supports it, but people's biases and that won't work. Okay, why won't it work? Tell me. That conversation, that you can't have that in-depth conversation about it. It's only their preconceived bias that it won't work.
Yeah, so, and that's a dream, right? Like, imagine being able to go out and find just find a kid at, say, 14 who looks like he might be an athlete or she might be an athlete, and you get the chance to mold that kid, help like the parents mold that kid, and coming all the way through. And that's where I think we partner well in what we do. I could see that happening, and I honestly think that one day Pacific Nomads will have a player identified from Pacific Nomads into a national side.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's a stats game, and but yeah, I think we can be a bit audacious sometimes, and I think that dream big, think big. Rugby without borders. Like I hate the idea of zones and like mid North Coast and Central North and it's the same. They're the same. They have exactly the same issues with exactly the same player pool. Like why are we creating such tribalism? And Queensland country and New South Wales country, it's the same. Like same issues that I have there we have here. we should be banding together. You know, I think that's why the Stockmen have done so well. Aussie Stockmen.
Well, you look at
Amazing.
I made one contact through old mate down in the Brumbies, and we've got 6 Brumbies girls wanting to come to under 16s Brumbies girls wanting to come to Cook Islands with their under 16 side, mate. You know, and you had girls from Brisbane in the last one to Hawaii, and they all caught up. They were at the schools not long ago. They all caught up playing for their schools. They all caught up together. You know, it's great.
Yeah. So that rugby without borders, man. I think let's lose the. Imagine being a female player in Super W. New South Wales have won. What was it? 8 out of 10 or something.
They've only lost 2.
Geez, the early ones. So imagine if you're from WA or Victoria, or you're from Brumby, or that's a hard proposition to want to go and play, man. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Sometimes I just think let's just lose the stigma and the borders and start just playing footy, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%. Right, mate. We'll finish up here shortly, but I've got one last question for you. If you could go back and speak, I'd love to do this too. Go back and speak to 16-year-old Paddy. What would you tell him? Sorry, it's not funny, but I would love to talk to that kid.
Man, I'd probably say you're going to become a physio, so bloody go to math and science class for God's sake, so you don't have to learn that again as an adult. That would be a pretty good thing. Probably just don't stress about the future. You know, just be your authentic self, and it will happen for you. Like, if you told me at St. Greg, if you told people at St. Greg I'll become a physio, they'd be like, "Oh, I don't think so." Like, I was never really that way inclined, but again, I think it's a lot of people's journeys. You know, they end up through many paths, and probably just say be your authentic self and don't worry too much about what the future brings. Just keep chipping away at it.
That's pretty good advice, mate. Like, and it flows with what our theme is, as I've already said, at choice driven. You know, like, everything you've done happened for a reason to build who you are now. Now, if you're not happy with who you are now, crack on, but don't worry about the small stuff, eh? I like it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mate,
it's hard. It's 16. Hard for kids 16. Like, you're kind of at that crossroads of you're not quite an adult, but you're still a kid. You know, it's a tough time.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had some pretty good times with those sort of boys recently, like to Cook Islands last year, and getting to see how that works and see some of them grow has been really good, because you could tell that they were not looking for permission or approval, but they'd just been in that group of boys that were talented, but because they lived in the New England area or country area, they didn't get noticed for a lot of stuff, and they saw it as and we've never pegged it as this, but they saw it as a rep opportunity, an opportunity to showcase themselves, which is exactly what you want to do. So, you know, that's well done on that, man. So, rightio, Paddy. As I said, mate, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, man.
I'm sure we'll do another few, because I want to do a few controversial ones with you, and I know that you're never shy of giving me your opinion on something. So we will do that. But look, I did write something for the end, because I thought about this a lot. It has meant a lot to me what you've done to help me with my PTSD and the rest of it through Nomads. Whether we thought it was going to go that way when it first kicked off, it's a hell of a ride, man. Like, and it just keeps us grounded. So from me personally, before I read this out, thank you very much, and keep doing what you're doing, man. I don't know if my wife would say the same thing. She's coming to the Cook Islands to keep an eye on us this time. So anyway, look, mate, thanks so much for sharing your story. As I said, I think what stands out for me when I was thinking about this was that Pacific Nomads isn't just rugby tours. It's really about that kid growing, right? It's about creating experiences, developing character, giving young people opportunities to see what's possible through the game. Mate, thanks for everything you've done, you continue to do for the rugby community. I know personally at times the governing bodies haven't made life easy for you, and you've always stuck with it. Whereas I would have normally said, get fucked and walked. You're like, no, we're still kicking away. You know, we'll find another way. We'll find another way, because to me, it comes across that it's important to you that these kids and these people get what they deserve, which is fantastic. So to everyone watching, if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure that you like, subscribe, share it with someone who loves rugby, who knows Paddy, who knows me, wants to laugh at us. I don't care. It's about getting stories out there, okay? And guys, we'll see you next time on Choice Driven. Thanks, Paddy.
Awesome.